Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Danny Patkos, and I'm going to be your presenter for the next 45-60 minutes. And my topic is about Power BI and GitHub, mainly on version control and CI/CD. More about this a bit later. And before I jump into my session, a huge thanks to the organizers. This is my first time attending Data Weekender as a speaker and as a participant as well. It has been an amazing day so far, and I also bet you will learn something from my session as well. But again, thanks for organizing this. I do love this event. A bit about myself. So again, my name is Daniel. I'm from Budapest, Hungary. I work as a BI architect at Visual Labs, and I've been working in data, BI, and data visualization for the past 7, 8, 9 years now, and mainly focusing on the Power BI ecosystem. If you want to know more about me, then you can check my LinkedIn profile, or you can also check my blog, which I started recently. But I think that's more than enough about me, and let's jump to the part where I'm going to explain what's going to happen today during the rest of my session. So during the first part, let's say 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to explain the basics of CI/CD, just very, very quickly touching upon that. And then why is it relevant from Power BI point of view? So mainly covering what, why, and how parts. Once we are ready with that, I give you a step-by-step or like a high-level guide on how to setting up version control system locally on your machine, and how you can connect that to GitHub, and also how you can integrate with GitHub with Power BI service. And finally, the last, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes of the presentation, we are going to explore how GitHub Actions can transform your entire workflow. And I think that this is where the magic happens. So I think that GitHub Actions is the real difference maker. This is where you can start, it's like you move away from version control and step into the area of the real CI/CD. So to my mind, this is going to be the most interesting part, but first we have to cover the basics. My main goal with this session is to help you understand the benefits of using Power BI project files, and basically give you a step-by-step guide. Again, most probably I'm going to skip those slides, but those are in the slide deck, which I'm going to share later. So if you want to follow my way and use that as a guide, you can use my slides and you can set this up locally. And lastly, I also want to help you learn and basically understand how you can start building your CI/CD pipeline with GitHub Actions. So if you have any questions, feel free to bring it into chat, and if I will try to answer that in the meantime or after my session. So what is CI/CD? Again, very shortly, CI/CD is the acronym for continuous integration and continuous deployment or continuous delivery. And version control is part of CI/CD. So basically, this is the process with which you can be sure that you can properly track your versions and see exactly what the difference between these versions are, and also store all these versions in a shared location and collaborate with your colleagues. So this is the parts like a proper version control system. And again, this is only part of CI/CD. CI/CD also helps you integrate the changes between your and other versions and help you with the entire deployment process. So from automated testing to automated deployment across environments as well. It's a very wide topic. We're only going to touch upon like only a small part of that. But from Power BI point of view, it's relevant because I guess you like a lot of you have most probably struggled with version control, right? So this is a common issue in Power BI. So you are not alone. Others struggled with version control in Power BI as well. because this historically been a nightmare. I think we all been in a place when we maybe lost track of changes or accidentally like overwrote someone else's work or deleted our work and had to go back to a previous version and redevelop something we already done and dedicated a couple of hours to that already. I don't want to cause trigger too many PTSD or too big PTSD reaction in anyone. I know everyone know this very well, and to fight this, like many others, I came up with my very, very fixed and unbreakable system, like the manual file naming convention. My way to tackle with versions was creating my own naming convention, which was project name _date _version number. The issue is that, I mean, I'm sure you know the issue, but the issue is with all that I couldn't really remember the difference between the versions, right? So if I needed something from an earlier version, I had to go back and manually open multiple versions and try to find what I needed. It's just like super inefficient. And I can also remember, just like sharing a quick anecdote, during a meeting, one of my colleagues started like laughing when he saw my shared screen and my version was 174 of that very specific project. I mean, he had all the rights to laugh, and I could only join him, but more like in hide the pain herald way, because I just didn't know any better way to fight this. And this is, again, just working on your own. If you are developing in a team, you may find that this issue is even more relevant and even more painful. Our team came up with, again, an unbreakable single source of truth solution, which was the SharePoint folder. So we decided to save the final version of our project to a shared SharePoint folder. So if someone goes missing or goes on vacation, the others can continue the work on that project. As you can see from the screenshots, this was not the most ideal solution, and we struggle with basically the same thing. So whenever human error can be an issue, then that appeared. SharePoint was not the best way to store this, but again, we just couldn't come up with anything else. And so to sum it up, the life of a Power BI developer, I think without version control was, let's say, challenging when working alone, to put it mildly, straight up bad if you are working in a team, and a complete nightmare if you are working in an agile environment, so working on multiple projects simultaneously with multiple teams. It was a very common issue, and there were workarounds and alternative solutions before the arrival of PBIP, the Power BI project files. So even if it was a known issue, for some reason, none of the solutions or alternatives were ideal at all. For example, in theory, the file history of OneDrive was a viable solution. For some reason, for me, it never worked. There were other solutions which required like additional skills, like scripting in PowerShells, or required permissions or special approvals. If you are working in like a multinational company, you might be aware that getting the approval for a third-party tool, for example, Power BI tools or AM toolkit, is a nightmare. It's an endless battle with InfoSec. Most probably you won't get the approval until you are working for that company. There was also the deployment pipeline, but deployment pipeline is not 100% what we need, and also it was something what required an additional cost. So we have a clear issue. We had a clear issue, like the lack of the ability to do version control, and also there was workaround, which was more from my point of view less okay or less capable of doing what we needed. And then the holy grail from version point of view arrived, which is the Power BI project file. So this is still in preview. I think it was introduced like May 23 or something like that. And it introduces a completely new way of interacting with your Power BI files, Power BI projects. So what it does, it essentially, instead of saving your Power BI project file in one file, which has the PBIX extension, it creates a structured folder format and saves the files in PBIP format, but also saves the files related to the semantic model or related to your reports in separate files. And these are in JSON format. And JSON is code-based. So it also means that changes can be tracked from this point of view. And version control is starting to make sense now. It's a huge step on its own. And especially if you add the arrival of the TMDL format, which is basically transform your JSON code into a human-friendly, human-readable format. So it's not only you can, or you are not forced to try to find the trying to find the indentation or the proper curvy brackets of a JSON code. So you don't need to do that. You can just skim through your code, and if you want, you can easily modify that. Just to give you an example, this is a screenshot from a Power BI project file, which I opened in VS Code. And what you can see highlighted on the left or framed, these are separate files stored in my Power BI project file. And those are all the tables existing in my Power BI project. So if I want to check one of the tables or the elements in the tables, I can go freely and click on the table and, for example, check this code. My code check this column. And if I want to check, for example, let's see if that works. Okay, so if I want to check the data type of this column, I can go check, but I can also change that. I can check whether if there is a formatting string, whether there is like a default summarization. So this one helps a lot. And since it stores all the data related to a table, you can also interact with the M code if you are brave enough to change the code without the UI in Power Query. So this is TMDL. If you combine that with the Power BI project file, this is an amazing step forward. And let's like look under the hood and check how does look like. This is the official. This is from the official documentation, and I will. Yes. Okay. So we are going to focus on the bottom part of this picture at first. So like on the local machine. Let's say you start developing your project in Power BI this desktop, and you save your file in a Power BI project file. So in this folder structure, you also install Git on your computer, which is exactly for tracking changes and version control. And once you are ready with that, you create a repository, which is a terminology used by Git. This is where you can start tracking your changes. And if you save your Power BI project files, Git is going to understand that there is a new line or something modification happened in your code. And you, instead of having to save like V1, 2, 3, 4, 5, of your code. You can create commits, so basically snapshots of your project where you can add also messages. And this makes sure that you can follow the stages of your project more clearly. And in the best part, or like there is like an additional layer of this, that it's not just like you who can work on this project, but if you share your project with your colleagues and you create your repository online in an Azure DevOps repo or a GitHub repo, then you can work simultaneously on the same project in parallel with your colleague. Let's say you are responsible for creating the visuals for one page of a report, while your colleague is responsible for developing another page and most likely the measures for the other calculations as well. You can work both at the same time, and once you are ready, you can merge. You can combine your work. By this type, Git technology is merged, so you can combine your works into one. And the best part is that if something goes wrong, you can roll back to the previous versions. But thanks to Git, there is like a huge chance that nothing is going to be wrong, and all the changes are going to be merged into one final version. And here I'm going to introduce a couple of other important Git terminology as well. I already touched upon commits. So again, this is the visual representation of my project, what you can see. And here you can see all these lines, all these different lines are different branches. Branches are basically separated work streams within your projects where you can do whatever you want and others can do, again, whatever they want without interfering with others' work. And this is also the way you can develop in parallel. Usually there's like one main branch. You can think of it as like a production. And if you need to develop something or add something or fix something, you are not going to develop on the production as a developer best practice, but create your own branch, your own separate work stream. And once you are ready with your development, you can merge these back to the main branch. And if you want to merge, and when I say merge, every time these colorful line intersects each other, this is when a merge happens, or when two separate versions becomes one. And every time when you can see a little dot here, for example, here, and next to the dots, you can also see blurred messages, which obviously are not blurred if you are working on your computer. But these little dots are the commits, and the text next to those are the commit messages. So every time you create a version of a snapshot of your project, which was previously v1234, this is going to be a new commit where you can add the commit messages. So we covered commit, branches, and merges, and these are the three most important at the beginning I'm going to use. And since we are using all this, so we started to use Power BI project files. We also started to not just locally, but we are also using GitHub. Earlier, we used Azure DevOps, and there is very little difference between the two. So our experience as a team using this solution is overwhelmingly positive. There is a little investment. You need to learn the basics, so a bit of a VS Code or code editing, but that's not entirely just the basics of VS Code. You also need to get familiar with the basics of Git terminology, a bit of GitHub or DevOps. But so once you learn this, the return on investment is huge. You will end up like a clean and easy to maintain and follow way of development and Power BI project that are going to. So there is not going to be anymore to save different versions like manually, which is both the v12v45_final. And also, if you want to roll back or check something, it's again, it's very simple. So I can totally recommend that. And if I were to use my previous example, if you are working on your own, using Power BI Project 5 or version control is amazing. In a team, there are going to be challenges, but it's still very, very good. In an agile team, I would say it's okay, and still it cannot be compared to what was before. But since there are like more the possibility of human errors is still there, there are going to still be challenges. So if I were to sum up, everything is amazing until the point it isn't. We've been using this for almost more than 20 months, I guess, and since its introduction, and I'm fairly confident to say that we have like a very extensive experience with the issues which may arise, and I can categorize these issues into 3 main categories. The one which is the most frustrating is saving issues. Sometimes files won't save or won't open after a merge. And if you are lucky, then saving it back to PBIX and then saving it back to PBIP may solve your issue. If not, then a more thorough understanding of the problem is required. I think we managed to overcome all the issues, but this is the most frustrating ones you can face. Another common category is the merge conflicts, which again, it can be human error. For example, you and your colleagues work on the same project and for some reason, you develop the measure develop 2 measures with the same name. Even if you use a different DEX code, one of the measures is going to disappear. This is basically the functionality of using Git behind or in the background, but still it can be frustrating. And another issue which related to merge conflict but cannot be solved with communication, while my previous example can be, is the difference between, coming from using different versions. At least this is what we also experience. So if someone using like an older version of Power BI, it's a specific version, and I'm using a newer specific version, and that these 2 versions might not be compatible for some reason. Again, this is something you need to learn, you need to experience with, and you will find a solution for any of these. And the third main category is related to custom visuals. If you are using custom visuals at all, you need to make sure that if you are working on the same project, anyone who is working on the same project has to install the same custom visuals on its machine. Otherwise, you will have this well-known error message. So, to sum it up, there are issues, that's true. Most of those are very easy to manage, especially with a bit of practice. And I cannot stress this enough, that the benefits of version control of this solution still far outweighs these challenges or the frustration coming from these challenges. So there are lots of surprises, yes, but the little investment, big return is still true. And what you get in return is, again, is just something you would never even imagine if you are still using Power BI, the PBIX, and not using Power BI Project Files. I think one of my main goals with this session is to try to inspire you to start using this. And maybe I hope that this session is just like the last nudge you needed to start using the Power BI Project Files. So let's see how this looks like. So it's very easy to set this up. I'm not going to yeah, I'm not going to go through the step-by-step guide now. It's I'm going to jump a couple of slides ahead and go to the summary part. If you are interested, again, it's in the slide deck. I will share the slideshow, and you can follow this as the guide. But what you will have to do is enable the Power BI project files, since it's a preview. Then install a couple of things like Git, use VS Code, and maybe a couple of extensions in VS Code. Then once you're ready with that, you need to save your new or already existing Power BI file into a Power BI project file, connect that to VS Code into a repository, and then once you made any changes, you can create your commits for your first version, as you can see in the screenshot, and track your changes. And basically that's it. Again, detailed steps are on the sides, and you can just, you should just start this basically immediately. If you want a visual proof how this looks like, this is a demo project where I'm going to I want to modify the background color of this card. Let's say I want to this instead of white, I want to use like this greenish color. I make this change in Power BI. I also go and save this. Once I save that, I go to VS Code, where let's see that works. Okay, so here this menu is called Source Control. This is where I can see if there are any new changes in my Power BI project. And again, a new change is it is going to realize that there is a new change if you saved your file, because the code behind your file is changed. So none of the live changes are going to be disappear, but once you hit Control S, VS Code or Git is going to realize that there are changes made. What I highlighted here is how you can compare the earlier version to the new version. So since I just modified the background color, it's just a hex code which I replaced. Which was replaced, and I can commit the changes. And as you can see, this was the initial bubble, and now I have a new bubble which would be _v2. But right now I also provided like a detailed message, so my future self will understand, or my colleagues will understand, what's the difference between this and the earlier version. If you want to, everything what I showed now, or showed until now, it's only on your computer. Let's see how we can connect this with GitHub. So not just store our repo on our local machine, but have like a remote repository, so like a repository in the cloud, which can be connected by you or your colleagues. And this is where I think this is exactly where it makes more sense. So it's not just, you are just not doing this for yourself, but also for your colleagues. You can start, you will have like a secure and easy to access place to store your project file. And you can also share it with your colleagues and start the collaboration and the parallel development. This is how it looks. This is how GitHub looks like. If encouragement, and here, instead of talking about how GitHub looks like, I want to share a couple of key messages which I feel are relevant from our point of view. So again, I think you need to start using it right now, but you need to but you need to be careful, and especially if you are in a team. My recommendation is that you need to learn the basics and do a lot of practice. For example, we came up with a list of possibilities, like what happens if I push my code to production? I need to go back to an earlier version, or how do I start developing from someone else's branch, and so on and so on. And we have this detailed list we practiced together with the team. We also recorded the session, and so everyone can go back and check it later if something is not clear. Practice a lot. Try to not get lost in technical details like branching strategies. Try to keep it simple. Start using this, and you will discover what works for you during your journey. You can also ask for help if anyone else in your organization is familiar with version control, CI/CD, Git. Then this can jumpstart your journey as well. And I think my last two recommendation is, I think to my point of view, these are the essence basically of my of what we learned so far. So I read a comment on Reddit, which I can totally resonate with, which says that CI/CD is like 90% practice and developer expertise, and 10% tooling and automation. And the tooling part is the easy part, because honestly, it's like it doesn't really matter whether you use GitHub or Azure DevOps, and also it's almost irrelevant which code editor you use. So if you are not using VS Code, feel free to use something else, which is the technical part. But the experience and developer part is the more relevant, because you need to convince your colleagues if that like the continuous integration part, it doesn't mean that that doesn't mean like merging once a week or once a day, because that's daily or weekly integration and not continuous. And on that note, you also need to encourage everyone on your team to be part of all this, and make sure that everyone is on the same page, which means, from my experience, means that you need to make enough practice runs, and you need to make sure that everyone is comfortable using this approach. And if not, that you need to be there for them, and you need to invest the time to elevate everybody on the same minimum level, because it only makes sense if people are doing this the right way and they are doing this together. And trust me, you don't want to have a loose cannon in your team creating like shadow repositories or anything such, out of fear of messing things up, or maybe it's worse, that not wanting to show their progress or work with their teammates or others. So communication, as always, is a key, and you need to trust your team and also rely on them, and but also you need to check regularly if everyone is using this approach as intended. Okay. I think I'm going to move to the next part now, which where I'm going to share the how you can connect GitHub and Power BI service. It's just very quickly. Basically, you need premium per user or Fabric capacity if you want to do that. And I'm just going to show the benefit, the demo part. So let's say you have this demo to modify the hard-coded value of this card. I increase the value, and I'm just going to quickly go to GitHub. Let's say we also made our commit and also pushed our changes to our to GitHub, so it's in the cloud now. And also earlier we also connected this GitHub repo to a Power BI premium per users workspace. So if we go to Power BI, to the Power BI workspace, we can see that there is a new button, which is the source control, and there is one new change we can synchronize. And once we synchronize that and everything is okay, and we open the report, then we can also see that we made the changes without clicking on publish in Power BI desktop, but also at the same time, like simultaneously, saving our changes in our GitHub repository. This is a cool feature. It works both ways. So if you want to push your changes from Power BI service, so first you want to publish your changes from Power BI desktop to the workspace, then you have the chance to save your changes into GitHub as well. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. I'm going to skip that because here comes again, to my mind, the essence, or like not the essence, but the next steps that you can do with GitHub or GitHub Actions. And sorry. So let's say you are already familiar with version control, and you already you have already enough practice runs, and everyone is using that, and that's cool. And I'm sure that you are going to have new challenges or new questions. For example, you want that every project should only have like properly formatted DAX code. That's like a reasonable expectation, I would say. Or you would also want that none of your semantic models should have like a bidirectional relationships between tables by default. Or you don't want anyone that publish reports to the client's repository. That's maybe, or just after like a security check. Or you want every complex DAX code commented, as it doesn't matter if it's written by a senior or junior, it has to be commented. So these and similar questions may arise, and you will find, I mean, once you are thinking, okay, but how should I solve this? I can give you an answer, and the answer is CI/CD. So thanks to CI/CD, this is you can go one step further, version control, and experiment with like many different possibilities of automation and integration and deployment. So the tool we are going to use is GitHub Actions, which is GitHub's built-in CI/CD platform, and it lets you automate your build, your test, and your deployment pipeline as well. And what we are going to use is the tabular editor. Hopefully you're already familiar with tabular editor, which is a nice third-party tool helping with a lot of things. Helping us Power BI developers with a lot of things. And what you can do, for example, you can run the best practice analyzer. You can format your DAX, and you can basically run any macros you have in tabular editor. And the best part, you can not just run that, but you can also build automation based on the outcome of the results. So we are going to run a test, and we are going to use Best Practice Analyzer. If you are not familiar with Best Practice Analyzer, please check it out after my session. This is basically a set of rules which is considered best practice from a Power BI developer point of view. Like, for example, no bidirectional relationship should exist between your model. There is like around 100 rules. You can check this out. The bottom line is we can run this with tabular editor in GitHub Actions, and we are going to run this. The scenario we are going to check is, let's say there is someone, us, and we managed to develop a new measure on our own branch, and we know that this is needed, so we want to merge this branch into our main production branch. We are going to create a pull request. This is another Git terminology we are going to use. So pull requests are basically requests when a developer finishes with his or her job and says that, okay, here is my job. It's ready to be, to my mind, it's ready to be implemented with another branch. Please approve the merge of these two. So it's not like everyone can merge and put their version or their code into one. There is like a way to do that, a proper way to do that. If you want to add checks and balances, then this is going to be the right way to operate. So we are going to create a pull request. This pull request is going to trigger an automation, which is going to run the best practice analyzer. It is always only going to check whether our measures uses the divide function if there is a division, or if there is if they are using the divide operator. There are going to be two scenarios. First, the measure is going to use the divide operator, which is not the best practice, and the second, we are going to replace our division and use the divide function, which is considered best practice. So let's see how it looks like. It's not going to be a live demo because I had a bad experience with live demos, or so I have a recorded session. First, we are going to go to GitHub, where I'm going to show you the GitHub Actions code, which is a YAML code. This basically does, at the beginning here, it just gets the download URL for the latest version of Tabular Editor 2. Then it downloads that, also installs that. And once it's ready, it's going to run the best practice analyzer. What's also relevant that it starts automatically on every pull request created on main. So let's move to Power BI desktop, where, as you can see, this is our measure, and I'm using the divide operator instead of the divide function. I'm going to save that, go to VS Code. Again, there is in source control, there is like a new, like a modification in my file. I can compare the changes, and once I've done that, I created a detailed commit message. I'm also checking whether I'm on the right branch and not going to unintentionally commit on something on someone else's branch. So I'm going to create my version. As you can see, this is like the visual representation. So I'm one step ahead of the magenta line, which is basically the main line, because I have a new measure. Here I'm going to create my pull requests, where I say that I want to merge my changes with the main branch. I create all this on my machine using VS Code. I can see the result of this request in VS Code. And let's say now switch to the approvers point of view. If we go to GitHub, there is like the pull request section, and we can see that the code is running. The GitHub Actions flow has been triggered. And the first part is like ticked. It's okay because we managed to download Tabular Editor 2. But the second part, when we try to run Best Practice Analyzer, failed. And if we go and check what happened, we can see that our measure we created violates the rule which was expected, because it uses the divide operator instead of the division. So we are a bit unhappy, and we are going to write a message to our colleague that, sorry, this is not going to cut it. You need to follow developer best practices, and please review your code and create a new measure, or review your measure. Okay. If you have ever had to like review others' code, I think that you can understand why this is very important and very good. Now let's see. It's like a bit. We are going to be a bit fast. Like this is going to be a fast forward, or like this is already the measure where I replaced the divide function with the divide operator. We can compare the code. I'm also going to create the commit message, sync with GitHub, and yeah. So our previous version is not lost. It just so it wasn't accepted as a good to be able to merge with the main branch. So if we move again to the approval perspective and we go to the pull requests, we will see that there are no known issues with this code. So we can go forward and merge the two versions together. And since this repo is already synchronized with Power BI with my Power BI workspace, I can go there, where after refreshing, I will see that, oh, that is a new change. I know that this change was like the merge from another branch. I synchronize that, and everything looks amazing. So this is, in a nutshell, what you can do with automation. Again, this is just a starting point. I think starting your CI/CD pipeline and start building your CI/CD pipeline with the best practice analyzer is the best way to start. And later on, you will add also other things as well. So I'm just going to wrap up what has been said. So I know we started from the past, and I started my presentation how difficult our life as Power BI developer has been before the introduction of Power BI project file and the TMDL format. I also explained why these features made our life significantly better, and how the integration with GitHub will increase the quality of your life, and showed quickly how connecting GitHub and Power BI service may be beneficial for your development or for you. And as a last step, I just showcased how amazing GitHub Actions can be. And I hope I opened I hope that you could glimpse into the depths of CI/CD with GitHub Actions and Power BI. So I think I managed to deliver my goals. So explain the benefits of Power BI project files, step-by-step guides available if you want to use that, and you will also learn how to start building your CI/CD pipeline. And just a quick reminder, the Power BI project file and TMDL is still in, no, TMDL is not. So Power BI project file is still in preview, so challenges may occur, and make sure that everyone is using the way you intended to use, and communicate with your team. But most importantly, start using it right now. I think this is the most important part. Thank you so much. I can see that we have a couple of minutes for questions, and I see that. I mean,
there are a couple of questions here, Daniel. I've been monitoring as we're going along, and people have marked them with Qs. You may have addressed some of these already, so if you have, just tell me. Would you have a test UAT workspace in Power BI service that is connected to a test branch of DevOps Git for testing purposes? That's Isabella. You may have addressed that already. I can't quite remember.
Yeah. Yes, you can. You can have a test branch and the test workspace as well. If GitHub is connected to Power BI service, then basically it's okay to have on separate branches, or you can use the deployment pipeline. It's up to you. It's a bit of a practice, and I think it also depends on the project of the team.
Yeah. So an it depends answer then. Cool. Okay.
Apologies.
Then no, it's not. This is the work I've done in this space. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution. So I agree with you completely. Darrell Lynch has got a couple of questions, but I'll go to his first one. He says, would you have a separate repo for each workspace data product, or use a single repo for the team's data products by using a folder for each workspace data product? So I guess, is it a separate workspace or a separate or folder for separating out?
So I haven't. I think the question is, if I understand this correctly, is whether you can stop the sharing. So whether you can have, whether you need to have like one repo and one workspace, and in one repo you need to have one report, or you have multiple reports in one repo. I haven't tested this. In theory, you can have multiple reports in one repo, but usually you have I mean, usually we go with one repo, one report, or by report I mean Power BI project solution. So I haven't tested that. I had a similar session this week, and this question came up. I mean to test that, so feel free to ping me on LinkedIn, and once I have the results, I will share that, because
Cool.
I can see that's why it's a viable question.
Excellent. There's a couple more actually, and we have time, so as long as you don't mind taking them, Daniel, I'll keep them coming. The next one is from oh, now people are chirping in. This is Henrik. Are you aware that Azure DevOps does not equal Power BI Workspace Sync, or DevOps Power BI Workspace Sync is not possible if just one of the reports in the repo has a live connection to an on-prem SSAS? That's a major issue at my workspace with hundreds of workspaces, all with reports of that kind. We are moving to Fabric, but that's a long process.
Yeah, so to be fair, I have no experience with any on-prem thing, but the question is, yeah.
It's just DevOps not syncing with the Power BI workspace. So this has got a specific issue that I'm trying to get a workaround for. Okay, and then one last question.
So like I know that the DevOps synchronization was first. So like earlier you only had like DevOps and GitHub. No, sorry, DevOps and Power BI service integration, and then a couple of months ago GitHub also came into the picture. But yeah, this was the original one. So if it's not working, yeah, sorry for that.
Okay. That's okay. And then Daryl's question: what are some of the non-Fabric or Power BI assets, i.e. README files or README markdowns, that you would suggest including in the repo for example, documentation purposes?
Yeah. So if when you create your repo, then README is going to generate it automatically. Usually, I mean, it depends on your settings, but usually it is generated automatically. You have your Git in your file as well, which is again automatic, and it's good to know. So like data is not synchronized because so it's only the Power BI, so the semantic model, but not the data, because it's handled in the Git ignore. And as one side note, as Kevin pointed out a couple of weeks ago, there is a distinct difference between DevOps and GitHub. So as you may know, Power BI metadata may contain products, so like live data, and if you don't have a GitHub Enterprise server, you may not know where your data, where your project is located. So this might not be GDPR or regulated. So the way we are working, we use GitHub every time a client doesn't care, but if a client is scared, then we are going to use DevOps. This was not the answer to the question. It's just something popped to my mind, which I also wanted to cover. So to answer the question, I'd never, so like we are just using the default files. I've never really thought about using. I think I've never edited the README file either. It makes sense, but we are a group of 5, so we discuss everything, and it's not like everyone is working on all of the same projects simultaneously. So README might be a good idea, or other things as well. But what works for me is just keep the essentials in the repo. So don't add because if you start adding multiple files as well, for example, I don't know, you start adding like a Word document or like an Excel sheets or like presentation, every time you modify those files, you will get a notification, or you will see that, okay, there are changes, and you need to go there and review review the changes. So to my mind, it's just create additional complexity. But maybe that's just me.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And I think that looks like the end of the questions there, Daniel. Thank you for that very informative session. It looks like it's helped a fair amount of people. Everyone, I'm just going to pop at the top of the screen here, you will see a link for providing feedback. If I can just ask you to do that, please, that would be wonderful.